Well, first of all, hi everybody. Thank you for inviting me to your history club today. Tell me about a history club, if you don't mind. What do you do? What's your goal? You get to hang out with a cool teacher, right?
That's very cool. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Morgan.
Um, well, we do a lot of like these talks. Like we'll do them with other professors. Last week we did one about just like horror history, and we talked about like supernatural stuff.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
Just trying to get us in the news.
Oh,
Just kidding, just kidding.
actually, there's a supernatural spot near my house. Do you know the new Conjuring movie? Did any of you see it?
Nope.
Yeah, shake your head. You did? So that's based on the Smurl House in West Pittston. Do you know that? You've heard of that before? No? Yes, I see some people are shaking their head, yes. The young lady in the plaid pants. Hi, what's your name?
Tiana.
Gianna? So that is maybe 2 blocks from where I'm sitting right now.
Oh wow.
But when that was going on, I actually also lived in this town. And the one girl, the daughter, she was a year ahead of me in school, but yeah, so everyone was driving by and afraid to walk the street. So you're working on the supernatural. John, you should take them to a cemetery.
I know, I didn't have Wi-Fi there or else we were gonna do it there.
That would have been perfect.
But
I,
ironically, last week's speaker was talking about The Conjuring because he
oh,
investigated, wrote a book on like the Warrens, and he saw the
okay.
Annabelle doll, but he was a little more skeptical. So
hmm Yeah, it was weird. It was a very strange time growing up and having that in your town, right by our community pool, in fact. But and now, people are still coming on that street and trying to see where the house was and everything. But how many of you know anything about Shakespeare? If you could raise your hand.
I don't know
I
if
can't, I can only see, okay, now I can see everyone. Hi. Hi. So some of you know Shakespeare? Yes? Just nod your head one way or the other so I know you're alive. Or else take your pulse. You know how to take your pulse? Make sure you're alive. Yep. No? Oh, you just have to use your wrist. Yeah. I don't really teach that, but I do have students check it.
that's
So did you ever read any Shakespeare, students?
Yes.
What did you read?
Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet, of course. Anything else? Julius Caesar, maybe?
oh no.
We didn't get there. No.
What are
Okay.
we?
No. We were supposed to get it last year, but we didn't get that far. Yeah, no.
Did Mr. Gribos tell you his favorite Shakespeare play?
What?
My favorite Shakespeare. It's also my Wi-Fi password. Oh, at my house. So Titus Andronicus.
I'm not spelled.
Not that far.
So we have some other special guests. Can you see my little Lego Shakespeare? Mhm. And also, because we're talking about the Scottish play, I have this, well, that's the Raven, but there's a skull with books, to put us in the mood. Um, and I will answer any questions you have. But first of all, I was asked to talk about how I came to love Shakespeare. I don't know. It was as a little girl, actually, and I had this draw to England. So I became an Anglophile. Do you know this word, Anglophile? No? That means someone who's really into England. But I'm also a hibernophile, which is Ireland, and the two clash. But that's another story for another day. Maybe St. Patrick's Day History Club I could talk to you about the troubles in Northern Ireland. And Kneecap, the Gaelic rap. They rap in Gaelic. But that's up to you, Mr. Greggles. So as I became really interested in Shakespeare, reading Shakespeare, finding out about Shakespeare. And as soon as started reading his words, I was just captivated. And it wasn't until I graduated college, but as a Shakespeare stalker. I'm a self-proclaimed Shakespeare stalker, where I got to go to England after graduation and I went to Shakespeare's birthplace. And my ninth grade honors English teacher told me that there was one spot in his house, the original Shakespeare birthplace, that wasn't ever changed, and it was the floor. So when I went there, guess what I did? I got on my hands and knees and started touching all aspects of the floor. And I didn't get kicked out. This was before 9/11, so maybe I couldn't do that today. But yeah, I did that. So I really love Shakespeare. And when we talk about the Scottish play, it's riveting for a lot of reasons. First of all, raise your hands if you like supernatural elements of the supernatural. Raise your hand if you like to be scared. Raise your hand if you think everyday life is scary. I'm raising 2 hands. Yeah. Exactly. So it's really, I love the story of how Shakespeare and why Shakespeare wrote Macbeth. And by the way, we can say Macbeth out loud because we're not in the theater. And I'm going to talk to you about how you should never, ever, ever promise me, pinky swear, that you will not say Macbeth in the theater. And since we're, what's that, John?
I said I did and I got in trouble.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Like,
Mhm.
say Macbeth. Is that like some special?
Oh, she's gonna go over it, I bet.
Yes, I am. But even today, you know, more than 400 years later, Macbeth continues to be one of the most popular. And in fact, Lady Macbeth, there's a novel, okay? And it's by Ava Reed. And it's just, you know, it isn't an academic book by any means, but it's a novel about Lady Macbeth. It's not the first. But this one I'm especially excited to share. Queen Macbeth by Val McDermid. She's one of Scotland's premier mystery writers. She's like the current Agatha Christie-esque writer in Scotland, and this novel, Queen Macbeth. So the character, all of the characters and the situations are still very popular, and we keep adapting them, like all of Shakespeare. So I'm going to tell you about 1606, when Shakespeare was writing Macbeth. It was partially to honor the new king in England. Now, how many of you, so do you all have Mr. Gribos for history, or no? Will you have him? Before you graduate, I mean?
Some of them do, some of them don't.
Okay, all right. But the new King James ascended the throne after the death of Elizabeth I. That she died in 1603. And then here comes James I from Scotland. Now, James was intensely afraid of, someone want to guess? What are you afraid of? What?
Macbeth.
You're afraid of Macbeth? Oh, don't be afraid of Macbeth.
His own shadow. Yep, I'm terrified.
I heard ghosts.
Ghosts? Yeah, some people are afraid of ghosts, some people are afraid of spiders, but King James was afraid of witches. In fact, he was incredibly paranoid, and he actually wrote books about witchcraft, witches, anti-witch books. So, in today's society, he would cancel witches. He would cancel them. So Shakespeare played on his fear. And even though it was seen as he was writing this play about a Scottish king as an homage, paying homage to the new ruler, he actually was picking out some flaws in James, and he had many. So when he wrote this, like I said, it debuted in 1606, and the date it opened was actually August 7th, 1606, at the Globe Theatre in London. And if you go to London, anyone, you can go to the Globe, the new Globe, but that opened in 1997, built almost exactly on the location of the original, which burned down in a fire during one of the performances of Henry VIII. But that back to the play. So he writes this play, and it's supposed to be pomp and circumstance about Scotland because James's in-laws are coming to town. He married Anne of Denmark. So the King and Queen of Denmark were coming, and they were coming to the theater to see the opening of Macbeth. So playing on the witches, the fear and disdain of witches in terms of the new monarch, Shakespeare included them and made them very important characters, three of them in the play. Well, at least three. Now, I'm going to talk to you about the curse of the Scottish play. So this is why you never, ever, ever say Macbeth in the theater. And John, do you remember any of these?
The witches?
No, the curses.
I can't remember the curse, but I remember going over it, and I remember
Mhm.
lore. I remember the story and so on. But
Okay, so we're gonna talk about and go over it. And when I read something that supports the idea that in fact the play is cursed, I want you to say, okay, can we practice that? Or whatever. Yeah, not everyone's doing that. Ready? On the count of three. Real loud. Yep, I mean it. Oh, I'm serious. 1, 2, 3. Six, seven times. Come on. Yeah, I know six. Come on, I know. I know these things. I have a 14-year-old. I know all these things. So yeah. What, John?
I said you got him with that one.
Do you hear it every day? All day, every day?
Too much.
Mhm.
Definitely.
I said it in early.
Well, I will give you 6, 7 examples of the curse of the Scottish play. And at the end, you're going to tell me if you think it's true or not, or if you are afraid or not, if you buy into it or not. Okay. So ready? Ready for your after I tell you them? Ready? Yes? Okay. So, during the plays, so this is about how the superstition originates, okay? During the play's very first performance, like I said, it was on August 7th, 1606, Hal Berridge, the boy who played Lady Macbeth, jogged backstage. Do I hear it? Yeah? Oh, I guess I should say one thing because you haven't had Shakespeare before. In Shakespeare's time, girls could not act on the stage. I know there are some reasons why I'm glad I wasn't raised in Shakespeare's time, because that would not have flown with me. Would it have, Mr. Grybos? No. Not until 1642 were women allowed to be on stage. So female parts were played by boy actors. Once the voice cracked, guys, you know what I mean? Then they couldn't play women anymore. So they were boys. So imagine a boy actor dying. Okay. Just saying. All right. The next bit of superstitious evidence. In 1849, after years of intense animosity, the rivalry between the American actor Edwin Forrest and the British actor John Macready culminated in a riot in which a third party was killed. And it took place in front of the theater where Macready was appearing in Macbeth. In one memorable week at the Old Vic in 1834, the Old Vic Theatre in London, a very storied, celebrated theater in London, the play went through 4 different Macbeths. Now, if any of you are in theater, can you imagine replacing the lead 4 times? But back to the story. Michael Kim came down with laryngitis. Alistair Sim caught a chill, and Marius Goring was fired. John Laurie survived to finish the run. And then in 1937, Laurence Olivier, Judith Anderson production at the Old Vic must have been the unluckiest ever. Why? Well, just before the scheduled opening night, Lillian Baylis's favorite dog, Snoo, died. Miss Baylis was the founder of the Old Vic, by the way. The next day, Miss Baylis herself succumbed after learning that the opening night was to be postponed. And according to Olivier's biographer, Donald Spurrow, the director barely escaped death in a taxi accident. Olivier was nearly brained by a falling stage sandbag. The scenery didn't fit the stage, and the composer was not happy with his musical score and kept tearing up pages of his composition. Moreover, Olivier, with characteristic gusto, accidentally wounded the Macduffs in the final battle scene. Now, whether or not you believe in superstitions, you have to admit that's pretty, that performance, that production was definitely cursed, don't you think? Yes?
Not really. That's just me though.
What's that, John?
We have a skeptic in the room.
Who's a skeptic?
Yeah, who is it?
Barack. He's the guy that keeps having a comment every time you say something.
Oh, well, heaven forfend. Okay, well, I'll defend myself. I'll continue. 6, 7 more. The play seems to have given Miss Bayliss a particularly hard time because when Macbeth opened in 1954, her portrait fell off the wall and smashed into pieces. Ooh, that's particularly unlucky. Okay. Another, I'm not going to read all of them. There are more. But in one, the guy playing Macbeth was run over by his own car. I know. This is in Canada. I don't know how it happened, but it did. And then there was Voodoo Macbeth by Orson Welles. And when that production was panned by a critic, his name was Percy Hammond. When he wrote a bad review about it, the Abdul, who was one of the African drummers in the play, asked the director if he was a bad man who wrote the review, and the houseman, the director, says yes, a bad man. And the next day, this guy was met with an unusual illness, and by the end of the week, he died. So the critic who panned the production of Macbeth died. Now, what do you think? Are you all skeptical?
Yeah.
These are just some of many more.
I might have to.
So when you look at all these, and I do remember them now, didn't you give us like a handout? Wasn't it a sheet of like 20 things or something like that?
Yeah, yes. Yep.
Which ones do you think are, I guess, the strangest? First, the ones that maybe, stuff happens. Like which ones that you think you'd be able to sell on a skeptic?
Oh, definitely all of the stuff with the old Vic. Okay. And you might say, well, the dog died. I don't have a dog, but my brother has dogs. And when their dog dies, it's like a member of the family dies, right? How many of you have a pet dog, or any pet, right? So the dog dies on the opening day. And then the next day, the woman who runs the theater dies. Whose dog it was, she dies. And the play is postponed. And the head, Laurence Olivier, who was Macbeth, nearly gets brained by a falling stage bag. You know what that means? Do you know how many of you work in the theater, or I've seen like to get the curtains to go one way or the other, and you have the bags, the sandbags. If that falls on your head, yeah, you could die. It would hurt more than if you're in a football game, and get a concussion, maybe, I think, depending on. So any football players? Oh, wait, do you have a football jersey? A football? I'm looking at the young man in blue in the corner. Is that a football affiliate? Okay. Is anyone a football fan? NFL? Football fan? Yes. Okay. Yeah. But all of those things, and then for her picture, the same woman, for her portrait to fall down and shatter the next time Macbeth is performed at the Old Vic Theater is, I mean, that's really strange. There has to be a connection, doesn't there? It seems like too many to deny.
So when you think of all the curses, can you talk a little bit about the alleged witchcraft, or if Shakespeare did or did not include like an actual spell? Can you talk a little bit about that and give them some background?
Yeah, so Hecate is one of she's supposed to be the head of these witches, the weird sisters, they call them themselves. Well, they're called in the play. And they're doing things without consulting her, and she calls them to task. And there's questions people suggest maybe Lady Macbeth is actually Hecate, and she's really in charge of them. And you could read you could come up with any interpretation as long as you back it up with evidence, which is why there's never one way to read a text. Have you been told that before? Yes? Okay, good. So don't think, oh, whatever I think is the right way to think about this play. It's based, you come with your own background, your own ideas, and again, as long as you have evidence from the text, you can come up with these assertions. So there is the spell, the Hecate scene, and sometimes directors cut that scene out. And I don't know why, because Macbeth is one of the shortest plays, actually. And it flows quickly, but it's also one of the shortest in terms of lines. So why would you cut that out? Now, after that play, another interesting tie-in, Shakespeare laced it with what was going on politically in England at the time. And we're almost to November 5th. How many of you, and I'm going to bring up a movie, and John, now that it's 2025, this movie came out almost 20 years ago, so I don't know if the students would know this, but do you know V for Vendetta?
Yeah.
Students, have you ever heard of that film? Or the graphic novel by Alan Moore? Okay.
Guy Fawkes
It's-
mask.
What's that?
I was telling him the Guy Fawkes mask. You know
Yes.
that like face
Yes.
the must.
So that event, November 5th, there's a song in England from that time. Remember, the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I see of no reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. And the treason was that several people, Jesuit priests involved, where they also called the Popish plot because they were Catholics who were underground because England was a Protestant country. Anglican, the Church of England is an Anglican church, and they would be persecuted for practicing. And they had 37 barrels of gunpowder placed underneath Parliament, and they were going to blow up Parliament on November 5th because King James was giving his welcome speech. They were coming back from the summer term, and they were going to blow him up and Parliament. One of the traitors had a brother-in-law in Parliament, though, and warned him, sent him a letter to not go to Parliament that day. Well, he reported it. The 37 barrels were found just before they were going to go and set it off. And the traitors were drawn and quartered. And if you don't know what that is, maybe Mr. Grybos will tell you. Not pleasant way to be tortured. But if you're a traitor, you get the worst. And Guy Fawkes was the fall guy for it. He bore the brunt of it. Even though other people were planning it, it all, pretty much fell on him. And he's the one we remember. So every November 5th in the UK, people have bonfires. They also refer to it as bonfire night. So 1605, this happened, and it's now 2025. And, I am not good at math. In fact, I fear math and don't use pencils because of that. It's true. But how many years is that? 2025 to 1605.
420.
Yep, 420. 420 years ago. And 420 years since, they still celebrate bonfire night in the UK. And they have bonfires, fireworks now too. And they throw effigies in the fire. For example, do you do this with your rival football team? Do you dress up a dummy with a jersey of do you do that? No? Oh, okay. You're much more peaceful than when I was in school.
I was gonna say, my old school, they would get their rivals animal mascot. They would rip it up. And,
Yeah. Put it in the fire. Well, they still do that. They still burn Guy Fawkes. But anyway, so Shakespeare brings that into his play, because really James could have been killed. So that's also an undercurrent in there as well, the Popish plot. And so if King James was smarter, he would have picked up on some things that Shakespeare was making fun of him for. but he didn't. He never did. Because if you talked against the king or the queen, you would lose your head. But the monarchs liked Shakespeare, and they went to the theater. They went to see plays at the Globe, or had them come to the court and had them perform at their homes, especially after Christmas. Remember Twelfth Night, John?
Probably if you told me what it was about to start.
Okay. If music be the food of love, play on. It's about appetites, and you have Orsino and Malvolio, that play.
Okay, I remember that now, yeah.
And it was Twelfth Night is after Christmas it's like the last day of the Christmas holiday festivities. So they performed it first in Queen Elizabeth's home, not in the theater. Plays are very, very enlightening, and there's a lot in them. You have to look at every word to pick up on the nuances of things. What questions do you want to ask me about Shakespeare or Macbeth, the Scottish play, superstitions, the witches? Oh, one thing that this play in particular started was this idea that witches have the hiccups. Because on the opening night of Macbeth in 1606, one of the witches got the hiccups. Now, friends, how many of us get the hiccups any given day, right? Well, because it happened, then other playwrights wanted to have witch plays too. So they did, and they incorporated the witches having hiccups. And I was reading them back, a couple decades ago, really, all the witch plays, just try to look at the superstition, the Gothic elements of London at the time. And why do the witches have the hiccups? And then I found out about the first performance, reading an account that one of the actors got the hiccups. And then from then on, they thought that all witches should have hiccups. So I don't think you'll ever see that if you go to a production of Macbeth or any of the other witch plays from early modern England, but that would be interesting if they did incorporate the hiccups. So you ask questions, please. I've talked too much.
I'll start. So
Okay.
So would you say that the witch stuff was not an actual spell? It was more just commentary on the king and that society at the time, and just a story. There wasn't an actual spell or a curse in there. Or would you say that there is?
I think you could look at it either way.
Was Shakespeare superstitious?
Yes, he was superstitious. And after this, when he does The Tempest, which is supposed to be his swan song, and he's going to retire and go back to Stratford-upon-Avon with his wife and kids, he includes Prospero. And I don't know if you know, does anyone know The Tempest? No one's raising their hand. John, did we do The Tempest in class?
I can't remember. The ones I remember would be like Macbeth, Titus, Romeo and Juliet, Much Ado About Nothing, Claudius, my boy Claudius.
Hamlet, yeah. But Prospero can do magic. So he does incorporate elements of magic. Macbeth isn't the first play though that does that, because when he does the history plays, way back when he first starts, he does the first Henry trilogy. So it's Henry VI, 1, 2, and 3. And you have Margaret of Anjou from France, and because she was powerful, can you think about stereotypes of powerful women today in society? For example, anyone? How are women who are really powerful depicted or stereotyped? It's not a trick question. What do you think?
She's like, no.
That Wilson's.
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Yes, yes, you could if you're either a superhero or what else? If you're powerful, you have to be a superhero. You can't be an everyday person, right? What
Is-
else? So I see the young lady with the yellow shoes, right? And don't put your head down. Gray pants. What's your name?
Morgan,
Maureen? Hi, Maureen. So you want to say, wait, did I say your name wrong?
Morgan.
Oh, Morgan. Okay. I thought you said Morgan. Maureen. Okay, Morgan. So what were you gonna say? You said something.
I
What
was
are
gonna say evil, but I would, yeah,
you were gonna say what?
evil.
Evil. Evil, right? And why is that? What do you think
Um,
that is?
I was thinking like the depictions of like Disney characters, so like Maleficent. Maleficent's like a really big one. Ursula.
Mhm.
But yeah, Ursula, Evil Queen.
So you either have to be a superhero or a witch, right? Mm-hmm. What else? Why are these stereotypes? Where do these come from, do you
Men.
think?
Yeah.
Say it again.
Men.
Yes. Yes, you are right. Who said that? What's your name? Hi, what's your name?
But
Lily.
Lily. Lily, you are right. From men. And so Henry VI has Margaret of Anjou, who was French and came to England and married Henry. And he was so weak. He was really weak, and she was not. And she was beautiful and smart. And she actually led men in battle in the War of the Roses. So if you've heard of this in history class, I don't know. But she was on the battlefield. He was having his own meltdown. He was nowhere to be found. And she led the troops. And she created the strategies in the War of the Roses. But guess what? She was also called a witch or an Amazon, which not the company, that company obviously there wasn't around back then in the 1400s. But you had to be either an Amazon, like some exotic thing you can't touch, or a witch. And a warrior, a woman warrior, no, can't do that. So Macbeth is seen in some of those ways too, because she has power over her husband. But that's an argument that's made in the play. But really, they're equals. They're treated as equals until he goes total delulu and is just paranoid. And he starts killing and then has a thirst for more power. And that makes him push his wife over here. And the end is very sad. No spoiler alerts. You have to read the play. Other questions?
There's still a couple minutes. Do you have a question to ask? Go ahead. Yeah, ask it.
Dumb.
It's not dumb.
Say it. Doesn't matter.
No questions are dumb. No questions are dumb.
Not good timeline wise,
Except for
but
rocks.
did the Macbeth play influence anything about the Salem witch trials? I don't remember what time period things are put in.
That was before the Salem witch trials. So that could have certainly the impact of, you know, people, writers creating artworks that focus on witches. So you have James the First, who has this paranoia about witches and targets anything, like even if he had a stomach ache, oh, a witch did that to me, right? And this is what happens in the New World, right? With the Puritans and farmers, right? If there's something wrong with the livestock, it must have been that girl. She walked by carrying milk from her cow, and she must have cursed me, right? So I think Shakespeare's Macbeth has a lot to do with how witchcraft was perceived. Because again, then other people started writing about it, and then like you come here, the English come here and to America, and they're sort of, well, if you read the history, then you know with the Puritans, they were very much, how shall I phrase this, John?
Christian nationalists.
Okay, they were a controlled group. Is that accurate? They
Uh,
they didn't have a lot of freedom. What's that, John?
Authoritarian.
Authoritarian, yes. And there again, could the women, Puritans, think of they came over on the Mayflower, and could they do anything on their own? What kind of opportunities were there for women in the 1600s America, 1700s America, 1800s America, 1900s America? I mean, I could go on, but that's going to belabor the point there. But what do they do, right? Well, in the founding days of our nation, right? What did women do? And think of where the crucible is set,
Try not to
right?
look like,
This, what, Lily?
try not to look like a witch.
Try not to look like a witch. Whatever that means, right? Didn't matter how you looked. They would say, "Oh, you look different." But yes, so the Salem witch trials were, yeah, very messed up.
Yeah. So I have to pick up my daughter in about a minute. Could you
Okay.
leave class with some nice message or some nice provocative or profound?
No
I know.
pressure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
something about Macbeth, Shakespeare and the supernatural. Some nice last message for us.
Okay, so I would encourage all of you to read Shakespeare. Obviously, read Macbeth too, but read Shakespeare. Don't be afraid of Shakespeare or the language. It's not weird. It's just like some words I said, right? 6, 7, Delulu. Shakespeare has ribs. Shakespeare has mad ribs. He's Sigma, and many of his characters are Sigma, and many of them are Delulu as well, right? And Shakespeare has such aura, and the characters that he creates, their aura continues today. He's not an aura farmer. So embrace the aura of Shakespeare. And if you get to see any Shakespeare play, go to the theater, but don't, under any account, say the word, okay? Otherwise, you have to run around 7 times and throw salt over your left shoulder. Run around the whole theater. That's how you get rid of the curse.
Thank you so much, Dr. Becky.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you. Thanks for having me today.
See you, Dr. Becky.
Come to Misericordia with Mr. Grivos.
Yeah, we'll be taking a trip up.
Okay, I'm teaching Shakespeare in the spring.
That's perfect. That's when we'll be coming.
Okay, fantastic.
See you, Dr. Becky.
All right, bye guys.